Imagine this. The most powerful man on earth, Pharaoh Ramses II, is utterly alone, surrounded by 2,500 enemy chariots. His army is scattered, his generals have failed, and death seems inevitable. This isn't a nightmare. It's the Battle of Kadesh, 1274 BC. Ramses is just 29. What happens next will define his reign for millennia. This is more than a battle. It's a story of deception, courage, and the will to survive. How does a single man, abandoned and facing an army, turn the tide? Ramses believed he was the son of the sun god, Amun-Ra. In his darkest hour, he called out to his father. The universe, it seems, was listening. This moment, carved into temple walls, became the cornerstone of his legend. Ramses turned a near disaster into his greatest triumph, rewriting history through sheer will and masterful propaganda. It's a reminder sometimes the victor is simply the one who refuses to lose. So let's journey back to the dusty plains of Syria over 3,000 years ago. We'll meet the players, understand the stakes, and witness the clash of empires. We'll stand with a young pharaoh as he faces his ultimate test. This isn't just about chariots and spears. It's about ambition, faith, and the power of a leader's will. The destiny of nations hangs in the balance. Prepare to witness one of the most famous battles of the ancient world. The line between history and myth is sometimes drawn by a single, desperate act. Ramses' story is proof that legends are born in the crucible of crisis. Let's see how a pharaoh's near-death experience became the stuff of immortality. The story of Kadesh begins now. Our story unfolds in 1274 BC, at the city of Kadesh, modern-day Syria. Kadesh was the key to controlling the trade routes and fertile lands of the Orontes River Valley. Whoever held Kadesh dominated the gateway between Egypt and the Hittite Empire. For centuries, this region was a battleground for empires. Kadesh was a prize both sides desperately wanted. The city itself was a fortress, protected by rivers and canals, nearly impossible to assault directly. Any army hoping to take it had to lure the defenders into open battle. That's exactly what Ramses and the Hittite king Muwatalli II planned. The plains around Kadesh were perfect for the era's ultimate weapon, the war chariot. These weren't lumbering tanks but fast two-man platforms, Bronze Age tanks built for speed and deadly volleys of arrows. The coming battle would be the largest chariot clash in history. Thousands of chariots would thunder across the plains, deciding the fate of the Near East. Two superpowers, one city, and a battlefield set for legend. The stakes? Nothing less than the balance of power in the ancient world. The world was about to witness a clash of titans, and history would never be the same. Meet Ramses II, soon to be known as Ramses the Great. Young, ambitious, and determined to outshine his father, Seti I, Ramses saw himself as a warrior king and a living god. Trained in war from boyhood, he was ready to prove himself on the battlefield. In the 5th year of his reign, Ramses set out to crush the Hittite threat and reclaim Kadesh. This was more than a campaign. It was a personal quest for glory and divine favor. As pharaoh, he was the embodiment of Horus and the son of Amun-Ra. Victory was his mandate. Ramses was a master of image and propaganda, presenting himself as Egypt's invincible champion. He led from the front, gathering one of Egypt's largest armies for the march north. Confident, perhaps overconfident, he ventured far from the Nile, deep into enemy territory. This campaign would define his reign and test his very identity. Ramses was about to face a challenge that would shake his world to its core. The fate of Egypt and his own legend hung in the balance. He was the sun god's warrior, ready for his greatest trial. The story of Kadesh would become the story of Ramses himself. His courage, his flaws, and his will would be put to the ultimate test. And history would remember what happened next. Two superpowers, two armies, Egypt and the Hittites, were about to collide. Ramses led 20,000 men divided into 4 divisions named for the gods, Amun, Ra, Ptah, and Set. The Egyptian army was disciplined, with skilled infantry and a formidable chariot corps. Their chariots were light, fast, and deadly, mobile archery platforms. Ramses himself rode in a golden chariot, a symbol of divine power. The Hittites, led by Muwatalli II, fielded an even larger force, bolstered by allies. Their chariots were heavier, carrying 3 men, driver, warrior, and shield-bearer, designed for shock attacks. The Hittite tactic, smash through enemy lines with brute force. It was a classic matchup, speed and agility versus power and momentum. The plains of Kadesh would decide which strategy would prevail. Thousands of lives and the fate of empires hung in the balance. The world watched as two military philosophies clashed. The stakes could not have been higher. The collision was inevitable. Ramses marched north, his army stretched thin across miles. As he neared Kadesh, Egyptian scouts captured two Bedouins who claimed the Hittites were far away, exactly what Ramses wanted to hear. But it was a lie. The Bedouins were Hittite spies, sent to deceive. Ramses, convinced of his own invincibility, pushed ahead with his Amun division, leaving the rest of his army behind. He crossed the Orontes and set up camp, dangerously exposed. The real Hittite army was hidden just behind Kadesh, ready to strike. Later, two captured Hittite soldiers revealed the truth. The enemy was right there, poised to attack. Panic swept the Egyptian camp. Before Ramses could react, thousands of Hittite chariots thundered out, smashing into the Ra division and sending them fleeing in chaos. The Hittite charge didn't stop. It crashed straight into Ramses' own camp. The trap was sprung with devastating precision. Ramses' forces were scattered, his position desperate. The Hittite king's deception had worked perfectly. The Egyptians faced annihilation. Ramses was isolated, his army in shambles. The fate of Egypt hung by a thread. The pharaoh was about to face his darkest hour. The true test of his leadership had arrived. Chaos engulfed the Egyptian camp as Hittite chariots tore through tents and soldiers. Ramses' elite Amun division dissolved into panic. Even his generals fled. Alone, surrounded, the pharaoh faced certain death. In desperation, Ramses turned to his god, Amun-Ra, and prayed. "Have you forgotten your son?" he cried, reminding the god of his devotion. According to legend, Amun-Ra answered, filling Ramses with divine strength. "Forward, I am with you," the god declared. Ramses' fear vanished, replaced by a godlike fury. He leapt into his chariot and charged, alone, into the heart of the enemy. The official account says he charged 6 times, a whirlwind of destruction. Arrows flew, enemies fell, and the sight of the golden pharaoh inspired awe and terror. His personal bravery stunned both friend and foe. The tide of battle began to shift. Ramses' willpower and faith became his greatest weapons. The legend of the sun god's warrior was born in this crucible. Against all odds, the pharaoh refused to fall. His courage sparked a rally among his scattered troops. The impossible began to seem possible. The fate of Egypt teetered on a single man's resolve. The turning point had arrived. Ramses' lone charge shocked the Hittites, who had been busy looting. Inspired, his personal guard and scattered soldiers rallied to his side. The chaos began to turn into a counterattack. At that critical moment, Egyptian reinforcements, the Na'aran, arrived unexpectedly, slamming into the Hittite rear. The Hittite chariots, trapped and bogged down, lost their momentum. Many were killed or driven into the river. The surprise attack that promised Hittite victory became a bloody trap for them instead. By day's end, neither side had won a clear victory. The next day brought more fighting but no breakthrough. Muwatalli, his elite chariots shattered, proposed a truce. Ramses, battered but unbroken, agreed and declared victory. In truth, it was a draw, but Ramses' legend was sealed. From near annihilation, he had snatched immortality. Ramses returned to Egypt proclaiming a glorious victory. His version, one man against an army saved by the gods, was carved on every major temple. The poem of Pentar became the founding myth of his reign. This propaganda was wildly successful, cementing his image as Ramses the Great. But the battle's true legacy was peace. 16 years later, Egypt and the Hittites signed the world's first known peace treaty. A copy still stands at the United Nations, a symbol of diplomacy. With peace, Ramses turned to building, ushering in a golden age of construction. He built more monuments than any other pharaoh, thinking in terms of eternity. Ramses lived into his 90s, outlasting his rivals and even his own children. When he died, he was buried in the Valley of the Kings, a legend made stone. The Battle of Kadesh transformed him from ambitious king to immortal icon. His story would define Egypt for millennia. The story of Ramses and Kadesh is more than ancient history. It's a cosmic journey. It connects us to the ambitions and beliefs of people long gone. The forces that shaped their world, power, faith, storytelling, still shape ours. The Treaty of Kadesh reminds us that even bitter rivals can choose peace. Ramses' propaganda shows the enduring power of narrative. His monuments reveal the human urge to leave a mark on eternity. These are not just Egyptian ideas, they're universal. Stories carved in stone travel through time, reaching us across millennia. They teach us about ourselves, our patterns, our place in history. Every artifact is a star in the constellation of human experience. By learning these stories, we gain perspective on our own time. The universe is full of wonders, past and present. Join us as we keep exploring the cosmos of history.